This comes as the New York Times reports on a, quote, startling discovery that it says helped lead to the breakup between Tucker and Fox. Now, I'm going to get to my guest in 1 second, but I want to tell you something about this report. In this report, the New York Times says it has obtained video. In video obtained by the Times, Mr. Carlson is shown off camera. All right, first of all, what does that mean? What do you mean he's shown off camera? Either he's on camera and you can see him, or he's off camera and he's not shown. Are you saying he can be heard off camera? I think what they mean is he is shown on camera, but not on air. I think what they mean is they have a tape of Tucker during a commercial break. And I believe this likely happened and was taped by someone at Fox who wanted to hurt Tucker. How else would Fox News have all the taped minutes of Tucker while on camera, but not on the air, unless they intentionally taped him and then had somebody go back and pore over them for anything that might be damaging to Tucker? And this is the New York Times' second of two big reveals. I'll get to the other one in a second. But this big reveal is he's shown off camera, again, what? Discussing, quote, his postmenopausal fans and whether they will approve of how he looks on the air. In another video, so there's multiple, he is overheard describing a woman he finds, quote, yummy. This is it. This is the big bombshell, I guess, they have on Tucker from clearly pouring through his outtakes during a commercial break while talking to his staff in an offhanded manner. Is that what happened? Who did that? Who culled through all those moments? Irina Briganti, who loves to destroy people when they leave Fox News. That's her job. That's what she gets paid to do. Right? So does the responsibility really stop with her? Who would sit there and cull through hours of off-air moments of an anchor trying to look for shit to use against them and then leak it to the New York Times? Listen again to the sentence. In video obtained by the Times. How? How would they get this kind of video? It's not from Abby Grossberg, the disgruntled producer. She's revealing her tapes. She wouldn't have to hide that she gave it to the Times. She's like, I've got tapes. Take a listen. Take a look. So where'd they get it? They don't say. Obtained by the Times. He is shown off camera discussing postmenopausal fans and a woman he describes as yummy. So you get it. He's a pervert. He doesn't like postmenopausal women, I guess. Is that really where we're going to go? He's wondering how they'll feel about how he looks. What does that tell us? He cares about how he looks. He cares about his older audience. And he finds a certain woman yummy. Oh, he's a dirtbag. I get it. So he doesn't love his wife. That's the implication. That's what they do, trying to destroy him. We have no idea in which context this came up, whether it was said in jest, whether there was a lead into it. None. And we never will have, because that's not how the game works. That's just the second piece of the New York Times article today. There's a first piece about the startling discovery made by Fox News on the eve of the Dominion trial. And as we discuss that, I'm going to bring in my friend and also former Fox News anchor, Melissa Francis. Melissa, great to have you here. I should tell the audience, you and I have been over this before on this very program, but you too got the axe from Fox News in the midst of anchoring well and performing your duties. And I can't remember whether it was on the segment or in the press, but you were in the midst of an arbitration with Fox News over equal pay when they were supposed to produce a bunch of discovery on salaries to you. And that day you suddenly were fired. You were just like suddenly fired via your camera, where a message popped up saying you've been canceled. So absolutely delightful behavior. Let's stick with Tucker here. The first headline in the New York Times piece is the startling discovery. Private messages sent by Mr. Carlson that had been redacted in legal filings in the Dominion case showed him making highly offensive and crude remarks that went beyond the inflammatory, often racist comments of his primetime show. This is the New York Times. And anything disclosed in the lead up to the trial. Despite the fact that Fox's trial lawyers had these messages for months, they admit all this stuff was in the possession of the lawyers for months. The Fox board, the board, and listen to this, Melissa, some senior executives were now learning their details for the first time. Some. And the reason they have to use the word some is because the executives that needed to know, the ones who are actually in power, were told about these messages as soon as
had
they were
known
disclosed.
forever.
Everybody knew. So this is how they can keep it truthful. They widened the circle, you see, and that is what caused the recoiling by some executives who are just now learning about it, not to mention the board, to find out, and we know this from the Wall Street Journal a piece yesterday, what was in the messages. He allegedly referred to a senior executive there by the C word, as the C word. I'm just setting it up. This piece does not go on to say which executive he called that word, but I'm telling you right now, it was Irina Briganti. It was the head of the comms department at Fox News. But that's not good enough, you see, because Irina Briganti is loathed by pretty much everyone. And no one would feel a ton of sympathy in learning that, nor would they believe that Tucker was fired over using that word about her. So enter some very helpful lefties this morning, like Joe Scarborough, who falsely says, I got this from Bill Maher. It wasn't Irina. It was Suzanne Scott, the CEO of Fox News. Listen to what happened on Morning Joe today.
I saw a clip from this weekend, Bill Maher, this past week, and he actually was reading some of the text messages, and he read the ones that came out where Tucker Carlson called the head of Fox News, a woman, the C word, which I noticed. I mean, it just in the United States, you just don't say it.
You just don't say it. And he went on to say specifically, Suzanne Scott, Suzanne Scott, Suzanne Scott. It wasn't Suzanne Scott. And that would put it in a different category potentially. But it wasn't Suzanne Scott. And Bill Maher never said it was Suzanne Scott. So I don't know what he's referring to. It wasn't her. And it does have a distinction because in one situation, you're talking about his boss. And in one, you are not. You're talking about a woman who has terrorized many Fox News anchors from the dawn of time. I've told the story before on the air, but Mike Huckabee came over to me one day. He was running for president. And he was like, what's wrong with this woman, Irina Briganti? And I said, she screams at everybody, Mike. And he said, I'm literally running for president. And she's screaming at me. That's who she is. You've been there. I've been there. But what do you make of the big startling discovery and the big scoop by the New York Times?
First of all, I just want to say to make that connection, you were talking about the clip that they released. Obviously, that's a response to him getting more views last night. And they released a clip to the New York Times trying to separate him from his fans. So he's calling his fans postmenopausal. They're looking at how many views he got last night versus how many views their 8 o'clock time slot got. And their operation now is to try and separate his fan base from him, which I will say is what ultimately all of this is ultimately about. They want to damage him and ruin him so he can't go somewhere else. First of all, back to the article that you're talking about, the first drop, that it's because of this text that came out, and he called a senior woman a horrible word and a horrible name in these texts. Well, I would just say if they want us to believe that they are firing people based on the Dominion discovery, then the whole building must be empty this morning. Because there were so many things in that discovery that deserved firing for if that's the road they're going to go down. It is laughable. And I would also say that when I worked at Fox News, there was a manager of mine who sent an email calling me a misogynistic, sexist name and talking about demeaning my behavior. He sent it around to all of the managers and accidentally included me. We've all done that, to be honest, when you're gossiping about someone and you add them to the two. So he did that. When I received that email, I went directly to Suzanne Scott's office because she also was copied on the email. And I said, what the fuck? And she shrugged it off. And that man who sent that email demeaning me in a sexist and misogynistic way still works there. In fact, he was the author of many of the things you read in the Dominion case. And I checked yesterday, he's still there. So this idea that something in a text would be so awful that they're on the side of women. They don't want to subject Fox women to an environment where you have someone like Tucker saying those words. That is a bald-faced lie. And I can tell you for sure, I received the email myself about myself, and so did all the other managers. And that was something that was sent company-wide to undermine me and undermine my position at the network.
Look, you did the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and pulled your business through the pandemic. And now doing the tough thing could qualify you for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. This is not a loan and you don't have to pay it back. The program's complicated, but no one knows more about it than the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front. They do all the work and share a percentage of the cash they get you. Businesses of all types, including nonprofits and churches, can qualify, including those who took PPP loans, even if you had increases in sales. You did the tough thing for your employees during COVID. Let covidtaxrelief.org help get you up to $26,000 per employee. Visit covidtaxrelief.org. 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 Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.